Welcome back.
To the Tiny Bookcase. I'm Ben.
And I am Nico. What you're about to hear is an interview.
A damn good one, too. Prepare to learn.
If you enjoy hearing this guest talk, be sure to check out last week's episode where you can hear their story.
Ours, too, if you're so inclined.
So, without further ado,
on with the show. Well, let's let's move on to the questions, shall we?
Probably an idea.
And have a little bit of a chat about some books and novels and writing and all that joyous stuff.
Yay!
So we've actually got some new questions for season 4, which is the one we're on now. So there are some in here that we haven't asked anyone before. So you're the first, Kira.
Ooh.
But there are also some old favourites as well. So I'll open us up, which is what's the first book you remember reading and enjoying?
God. I wouldn't be able to name the author now, but it was this really thick I want to say Irish sort of folktale stuff that I picked up when I was really, really little, called The Hounds of the Morgan. I always remember the title, but I never remember the author. And I felt very proud because I was in 3rd grade reading a gigantic book. And I remember loving it because it was written so very differently than everything I'd been reading. Because when you're little, they just give you certain types of books. I wanted to find the biggest book with the most fantastical cover, and it was called The Hounds of the Morgan. I could probably look up who.
Well, I have
you
it.
Do?
It's Pat O'Shea.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's quite fascinating that it was you were looking for that next step in your reading evolution.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than prescriptive what they tell you that you can read at school, you were looking for something that you possibly couldn't read, that you were trying to bite off more than you could chew.
I mean, it was just a very strange book to be in a very small elementary school library. I had no idea why it would be there to begin with, but it was different than everything else, and I had been reading Animorphs and stuff, and no shade to Kate Applegate, she's awesome, but I did want to see something I hadn't ever seen before, and that drew me to a lot of different. It kind of set me on a path for being maybe I'm not going to be someone who majorly reads American authors. Maybe I'm going to go and read other stuff, because even just the sentence structure and syntaxes of how things are laid out are different, and that was really exciting for me.
That's really interesting. Do you find there's a focus on you should be reading American books then when you were growing up in America? Because you spoke about the Animorphs, and I read
I
those
love
books
those
in the UK, and there's I couldn't have told you where they were written.
So I don't know.
Really
I feel like until I got into high school, it was just very this is decidedly an American young adult author. Please read this. And I was like, I love Goosebumps and I love Animorphs, but I kind of want something different. I don't. Sometimes it starts to sound all the same, to be honest. So yeah, it wasn't really until high school where I was like, can we read something else? And then I got my hands on Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and that changed my life forever. So yeah.
So what age were you with Crime and Punishment? Sorry.
Oh crap. 14, 15, maybe.
That is a big fucking book to read at 14. Not just for the size of it, but the prose. You've really got to wade.
Oh, I mean, it was a treat. I devoured it in 2 days, and then I just kind of sat in class.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was always really good at literature, reading, English, picking up on the conceptualism was good for me. It was fun. It was like a puzzle. But I didn't go into writing because I kind of kept it a secret. And I know it's a little silly, but I was like, this is the thing that I love the most. It is the easiest thing for me to do. I can go explore worlds. I can play with gigantic concepts and be kind of the orchestrator of an entire tapestry of an inner universe, which is awesome. And I kind of like didn't want other people to impede on that unless it was in like a hobby setting. So it actually took me a really long time to go and be a writer.
But like, also, were you hiding what you were reading as well from
No,
people?
no, I was pretty vocal about it. I was just like, yeah, I don't write words. I don't do that. I'm just reading stuff.
Fascinating.
I know.
So when you are writing, what gives you satisfaction in that process?
I mean, that's kind of broad. So, a lot of different things. Maybe painting a scene in a new and interesting way. Maybe finding words that, I actually come from a fine art background. So being able
Yeah.
to use language in a way that I maybe haven't read or is unusual. The juxtaposition between two different ideas. It could be like a literary puzzle. It could be big, huge concepts that I've been whittling away at using, I guess, word poetry or prose paintings, and then those coming to fruition. It could just be dialogue lines of comedy that I found fucking hilarious. I love everything about writing. The only thing I don't like about it is the marketing of writing. Like, I just want to write and make art. I don't really want to have to think about like pitching stuff. I like all of it. I probably can't answer this question. I like all of
No.
it.
Well, that's. I think you did very
Yeah.
accurately. That was great. Do you actually have to actively remove that idea of having to market whatever you're writing whilst you're writing in order to write?
Yes, because if I let it enter, like some writers, because I'm an indie author and I went this route deliberately because I knew, um, I know what happens in industry terms when some things are marketable and sellable, and I did not want to do that. Uh, yeah, I have to sit here and go, I'm just going to write the thing the way that it needs to be written, and then I will get it edited and stuff will happen. I can't even entertain that I'm going to slot it into a certain category. One of the backstories I just finished writing was supposed to be just a thriller, like a crime thriller, and it ended up becoming psychological horror and surrealist somehow through the middle of it. If I had gone into that thinking about marketability, sellability, or kind of the tapestry of the industry, it would not be what it is, and it has to be that to be the type of work I was trying to make.
It sounds like you're absolutely in love with what you're doing, which is really nice to find, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I just like creating stuff, man.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think that's why we're here, really, isn't it? Like, and it's interesting to find out why people, what it is about creating stuff that people like. But back to books. So we've had Crime and Punishment, and we've had the Hounds of the Morrigan. But what is your favourite novel? Which is possibly the cruelest question I could have asked you, I think.
That's really hard. Contrary to like probably a lot of other writers, I'm excessively picky with what I read. Like excessively, kind of like go back to the same stories over and over again, which is maybe a little lame.
I don't think it's lame to comfort read.
Well, it's more so like I'm just kind of a jackass, and I'm looking for. I'm kind of a jackass, and I'm like looking for specific stuff. So because the stuff I like tends to live in like mostly Russian lit, like just to be upfront, like mostly at vantage point, I go out into the ether and I'm like, I don't know what to do with any of this. I'm not finding what I need. I need the big chonky thing. But I don't know.
So is it sort of deep meditations on really big issues
Yeah,
that gets you?
I need all of that, or
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you'll find, Ben, it's fishermen's widows weeping on balconies as they overlook orchards of cherry trees and swans fly past. That's how we get the fires burning.
So from that Russian lit range, is it Crime and Punishment then?
I want to say
is it
that,
another
but
classic?
honestly, that kind of changes depending on my mood. We can go with that one since it's the formative piece.
Formative.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm willing to accept it. It's especially with the way that you went into it. I liked
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So the other this is a new question. I think I might let Nico ask this one.
Oh, you're so kind. So, do you listen to music while you're writing? And if you do, what's your go-to genre?
That's a beautiful question, and you may have to stop me if I get too annoying about it. I always listen to music when I write. I never not listen to music. Every single chapter of every single story I've ever written, I have set to a soundtrack. All of them. Every single one.
Wicked.
Yeah, all of them. Consoles Foss, every chapter, all 3 freaking books, everything is set to a soundtrack so I can keep pace in my head and also like kind of almost like an energy vampire, pull feelings and inspirations from the song I'm listening to inspire what I'm writing. And that's why I can write so much crap in a year. Like I released like 3 books and I wrote another one. Like it's thanks to music that I can do this. If so, what huh?
Have you playlisted
Yeah,
it?
I have
Because it
them.
would be super cool. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so wicked. So you can open the book up, hit the playlist, and be ready to
Well,
rumble.
here's the thing. I can't technically do that because then I can get sued. It's not my music. It's the unofficial playlist, sadly.
Well, it's just a suggestion. It's a suggestion
wink.
of a playlist.
I put them on the website. I put them on the official website, and I casually nudge people in the direction. I say, yeah,
Towards
yeah,
it.
hey everybody. Yeah, for genres, I love every genre. That's too difficult. Like I was listening to TATU the other day. I had Incubus on. I was listening to Baby Metal, like Missy Elliott. I listen to
That's a range.
everything.
I haven't heard Tattoo for 15 years.
No,
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I'm the same.
that's it. It's
Yeah.
really it's like consider listening on a high quality device with like decent headphones because it's actually a lot more new metal than you would have thought.
Yeah.
So you're obviously writing something that's got strong like cyberpunk overtones, and we were talking about like Akira before. So you don't actually have to match the genre of what you're writing to the genre of music, because, for example, there is a lot of cyberpunk music out there. That you don't need to do that.
No,
You can.
no.
It's more the emotion of the scene.
Yeah, I mean, also I just okay. I'm really weird, and I take some kind of like maybe deranged glee in writing a breakneck cyberpunk fight scene with like robots and lasers and like a lot of death and blood to ABBA. Like I have some really weird thing in my brain that's like dancing queen and I kind of love it. So that could just be crazy, but yeah, no. Draw from the broad brush. If I want to go full cyberpunk, I'll just, hang out in the 80s, which is where I'm used to hanging out.
Oh, I like that.
I'm pretty fixed on a fight scene to don't go changing your remote. I can see
Right?
it, like fully see it in swing.
It's that yeah.
That's sort of
It's that
yeah.
juxtaposition. It's really, really something. That's why Consoles Voss is an awesome series to just read. But if you delve into the media I've made around it, like I've made 3D animations, I've made music videos, I did paintings, I got unofficial soundtracks. There's just something about music and storytelling together that you can get really cheeky about it. And I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
It really sounds like you're creating a narrative scape rather than just one thing. Like, with all the art and music around it, someone could really live inside your work.
Oh, that's
which is wonderful.
That's sweet. Yeah, I'm also trying to make a video game, so I'm learning Unity. Wish me luck.
Yeah, big luck for that. That'd be really fun.
Thanks.
So going from the positive over towards the more sort of negative end, what's the least enjoyable trope of fiction for you? Like, what just doesn't do it for you at all when you pick up a book? You said you're a fairly picky reader. Is there anything that you can identify that just nope, put the book down?
I like character tropes. I think subverting them is like one of my favorite pastimes. So the character tropes, I kind of like all of them. You know, you can get in there, change something up, tell a new sort of spin on an old sort of an idea. But as far as like literary tropes go, I mean, maybe it would be a cliche. I'm tired of the bury your gays trope. Like, I'm a queer person. We don't need to keep killing queer characters for like the behoovement, I guess, ascension of the protagonist. Like, I'm tired of that. I'm also tired of like wives and refrigerators. Like, I'm done with it. Like, just write characters. Don't just murder cool characters to give the other one some cred. If everybody's murdered, that seems fine. But yeah, I think those are the ones I'm kind of tired of because they feel like cheap writing tricks.
Yeah, playing off outmoded concepts as well, which is fairly. Yeah, I can see that being fairly useful. So, if you were reading something that was perhaps more like classic literature, and in something like that happened, would it stop you from reading it?
No, not necessarily, because I'm very aware of the time period in which something, like, I'm not a history buff at all, but if something comes out in an earlier time, I'm more likely to go, okay, what potentially were they saying, and can I enjoy this work from where it came from its contexts, and can it potentially illuminate something I'm understanding now? I'm a lot more genial, but like literally anything from like 2009 until now, I'm like not going to read if it has those tropes in it. I'm just going to pass.
Yeah, I think that's a fair watershed moment.
Yeah.
Because we were speaking about just in passing about Lovecraft at the start, but there's some obviously it's a bit of a truism that there's horrendous amounts of really extreme racism in those stories, like anti-Semitism and racism.
Yeah.
But you've kind of just got to ignore it, really. I mean, and not to excuse it, but there's a lot to be had from those stories that if you put the book down, you're not going to get.
Well, I wouldn't.
Eat around the poison.
I wouldn't necessarily
Yeah, eat around the
ignore it
poison, yeah.
or eat around the poison. I'd say, I mean, this might sound a little bonkers, but if you engage with something whole ass, engage with it with the whole ass. Like, I'll eat the poison too, and then I'll sit there and go, okay, how did that inform the art that was being made? What can we learn from that as well? Not to excuse it, to go, how can I understand this pickle in a different way? I think for the lack of I mean, my coffee's starting to leave my body and evaporate into the air, so I apologize. A lot of media that is very influential and has a lot of good stuff in it is also just problematic because people are problematic. A lot of people in the world who've made really great stuff, sometimes they really suck or they have parts of themselves that aren't great. So I actually like engaging with the whole thing, because if you love something, if you're like really about it, you're going to be able to critique it as hard as you're going to embrace it. And I think that's like kind of the only way to go about it. Like, yeah, this stuff's great, but also fuck this guy, but this stuff's cool, but fuck that thing. Like, you can love all of it and have strong critiques. I don't know if that makes sense.
So,
I think it does, yeah.
Without saying the name of any particular turfs, where do you stand on the whole death of the author thing, and do you practice it?
I mean, I come from art school, so I probably have just like a really weird idea about this where, God, I don't want to get too esoteric or in the past. When we would do critiques, there was this big thing with my amazing art teacher, Steve Locke, amazing guy, just influential, mind-blowing talent and great teacher. He would say, if you're not articulating to the audience what you're trying to communicate, their interpretation of it still has, I guess, hierarchy or precedence. But that's why you have to work really, really, really hard on portraying your work in exactly the light you are trying to articulate it as. So I carry that forward with the death of the author, because I know some people think once that media goes out into space-time, it doesn't really matter what the author intended. But I don't think that's true, because media meaning making doesn't just go one way from audience to creator. It goes from creator to audience, and audience to creator, and society to all of us. It's like a 3 or 4 pronged way to approach stuff if you want to get philosophical about it. So I can agree with it in places and cases, but I don't think art is made in a vacuum. And I think that this probably has to be a case by case basis on how you engage with something, from whomst, and if the context matters, does it create a new meaning for the work? Can you still grapple with it, and why? I think Death of the Author could be a guideline, but I think believing in it fully is not dealing with every contingency capable when it comes to art making and those who make art and consume it.
That was an excellent answer to that question.
Thank you.
Quick, say something about bums, Ben. This podcast isn't highbrow. I'm kidding. So, other than creating a perfect vacuum, as you just explained, what's your process when it comes to writing?
It was quite the opposite, Nika.
I know, that's the joke, Ben. That's the joke.
I just drink a bunch of green tea and then I put on some music that I like. I wonder what I want to do. And then I find myself many hours later needing to hydrate and fuel my body. And then that happens for a couple days and I go, okay, I need to slow down. I read what I wrote. And then at some point, if I'm really in a good flow, I will just like finish a novel in maybe a month or so. It depends. It's usually the process as I get into a good kick or a good flow. But then you got to go back and you got to edit it. But that means then you have to read everything that came before, everything that kind of came after, just to make sure it's copacetic. Because I'm a pantser and I'm really spacey. So I gotta, make sure I don't leave any Chekhov's guns on any tables, and that's a little hard when you have the focusing power of either, like a dimensional rift tearing laser beam or a gnat, depending on the time of day and your mood.
You can be both.
I can also be both.
You can be a dimensional rift tearing gnat.
Yep, that's me every single day, a dimensional rift tearing gnat. It's true. So my process is chaos and some order, I guess.
Does it stay fully chaotic the whole time, or do you reach a point where you say, "Okay, I need to grab all these bits of string and tie them together"?
It usually kind of just ties itself. Like, as chaotic as it is, I don't know. It just organically ends up happening. I haven't had a hard time tying my nonsense together. That's probably not a great answer, but I don't know. Playing around with words and then going, yay, yay, and then turning around going, yay, it works. It's like kind of what it was.
Yeah.
So, at what point do you know that it's over? How do you know when the book that you've just written is finished?
Well, if I've hit all the concepts home and I kind of have that resolute, almost eerie feeling that I've made my final statement in my final paragraph of my final sentence, it's a feeling, and I don't actually think anybody's been able to potentially describe it accurately, where you're just, it's not triumph, it's not success, it's not conclusivity, it's yes. Here is like a brimming feeling of both power, excitement, fear, and pride that you've fully completed your idea in the form it had to be completed in. I'm sure there's people have called it triumph, but to me it's like slight fear of pride and feeling emotionally that I've concluded something powerful.
It sounds almost like awe.
Yeah, a bit like awe, but also a little fear, because you look back on what you made, and if you're like me, holding on and being a gnat with laser beam powers, you are liable to go, wow, I did that, and also, wow, that was a lot.
So does that feeling sort of grow, or do you get sucker punched by it and have a moment of, we're there, we're done?
I don't know. I always have in mind how I want things to end. I don't know if I'm surprised. I think more so. This is gonna sound wicked stupid. I'm just like really into video games. So like I played the first new Lara Croft game, and when she scaled that damn tower and was like, "I made it! I did it!" I like stood in my room and was like, "Rah!" So it's that kind of a triumph. And through all of that toiling, I don't know if it surprises me. I don't know if it sneaks up on me. I do know that it feels accomplished. I don't know.
I absolutely know what you mean about those gaming
Right?
moments.
Definitely.
This is a completely true story. In 2001, I was playing Majora's Mask on the N64, and I beat Georg, who is the giant fish boss of the Water Temple, for those who don't know what that is, which is pretty much everyone. And I ran into the living room and told my mother, and she was so fucking confused. I was like, "I did it, Mum! I beat Georg!" That's lovely, darling.
Yeah, but to you, you had invested all that time in that
It was-
story,
yeah.
and like you had your skill. Like, yeah, it's the same kind of feeling. When you reach that conclusion, you know it's done. You know you did the job. Like, yeah, it's kind of the same feeling. You were invested, and you did it, and it feels great. And I would have congratulated you. It's also the same thing with a writer being like, because I have a partner. He reads all my stories, but sometimes I imagine if he did not, I'd be like, baby, they won. The kids won. They saved space. I did it. And I'd be super excited. And he'd be like, what the are you talking about? Like, I would have congratulated you and been very excited and hopped around and maybe gotten ice cream or something.
I think we should keep you around. They're very good for the emotions, Ben.
Yes.
Right. While we're on video games, you can pick any book you like, any book in the world. You can adapt it into another medium. What book would you pick? Which medium would you adapt it into? And why?
Okay. Can I do manga instead of book?
Yeah, of course you can.
I want a Ghost in the Shell MMORPG. I want it circa 20 years ago. I want it right now. I want to play it. I want to be a robot in an MMORPG, and I want it to be good and existential and big and awesome. I need it now. I want to play it.
I've actually never read the manga of it, but I saw the anime of it.
The 90s movie is exceptional.
Very
Oh,
very
it's
fun.
beautiful.
Yeah,
The comic book is more boobies, but that's because the guy who made it
Right.
was, a smut artist. Like, a lot of credit to him. He made something awesome. Oh, it's great. I love that he was just like boobs, and he's like, I'm gonna do existential robot time, and I was like, rad.
What is life?
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I feel a kinship to Shiro Masamune. Boobs, and then big concepts, and I'm like, winning. Love it. Let's fucking go.
How you trick people into like getting onto the real serious issues, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
life-affirming sexuality.
Actually,
and then-
yes. All of my marketing, this is so silly. We're segueing. I'm sorry. Basically, I want a Ghost in the Shell game. I need it. I was hopeful with Cyberpunk 2077. I was like, please, some kind of Cyberpunk. I was disappointed. But yeah, I mean,
And then you spent 60 hours driving around T-posing inside your own car.
yeah, I nicknamed the car Baby Beans, and I blasted meme songs to make it feel better. Yeah. But yeah, that is kind of how you get people into the existential stuff, and that's why all my marketing has the one robot that all of the readers are attracted to, just shaking his butt, going, "Read the books, read them now, books now." And none of the books have sex in them, not really. So it makes it even funnier, to be honest. Book me now, read.
Are you horny? Local existential crises in your area waiting to happen to you.
Yeah, that's actually how I'm playing it. I am 100% playing it like that, and I think it's really funny.
It's a victimless crime, really, I think.
Yep. And it's just amusing as all get out. I have to have fun with it.
Yeah, for sure.
I like thick thighs and existential dread.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Actually, yeah. Yep. I was told that boobs are out and I have to go for thighs, so now I have a whole plan. I'm not joking.
I can't wait for the Ghost in the Shell MMO with a thigh slider. This is
Hey, I really
Absolute-
need it
yeah.
though. Like I want to do that. Come on. Like it'd be legit as shit. Then you're thrown face first into a bunch of existential crises and like what does it mean to be a human and are you even alive? And then you're just like wham, bam.
Can I be one of the little blue spider bots?
Yes, the Tachikomas, you totally can be.
The Shikoma,
Yeah.
yes. Cool. Then I'm in. I'm playing.
Awesome. We'll play together.
Server for 2, please.
Brilliant. So, speaking of the branding on your work, what have you actually got out at the moment, and what's coming out soon? What can people read of yours?
Yeah, I mean, Consoles Voss volumes 1, 2, and 3 are out. Been out for a while. Yeah, they're on Amazon stuff. I'm selling paperbacks too, and they're much nicer than Amazon's. And Amazon's an evil company, so we're getting away from that one. Yeah, I'm doing my own ecom installation. I don't want to be tied to Satan. We're getting out of there. Coming out soon. I am gonna have a new book next year on the backstories for the cast, back when they were humans and not robots. But I don't know when that's gonna drop. I'm also gonna do a fun isekai story if I can hopefully contain myself and not make it an existential crisis fest, which I tend to do with every single freaking thing I do. I'm trying to make it fun. So 2 will be next year. A backstory and something fun that I will try not to get too philosophical with, but I'm not sure about those yet. Not sure when.
It sounds like if you do get too philosophical with it, you can just put some thunder thighs in there, and it will be okay.
Yeah, that's usually kind of how it rolls. Like, if we went too deep, pull back. Like, pull back.
Yeah. Here's some glistening thighs to take you away.
Right?
Top notch. And where can people find you online? What can they?
Oh, yeah.
Can they follow?
I'm everywhere. Kira Leigh, KiraLeigh. I'm on basically every website known to mankind. It's kind of annoying, actually. Like, I'm fairly irritating. I'm on Medium, Twitter, Facebook. LinkedIn is actually poppin'. I love LinkedIn. I'm there all the time for no reason. Everybody's great. I hang out with nerds on LinkedIn. As for my work, ConstellusVoss.ml is the official site. You can sign up for a newsletter. You can get freebies. You could get hoodies, and other fun stuff. I made a Lisa Frank notebook parody with one of the robot kids on the front of it and made it super gay. So that's fun. So it's ConstellusVoss.ml. But I'm everywhere. So if you look up Kira Leigh, you're bound to find me somewhere.
That's wicked.
Sounds like a threat.
Ah!
A little bit, but the best kind of threat, I think. It's been absolutely wicked talking to you, Kira.
Thank you. I had a fun time too. Y'all great.
The new questions went down well, I feel.
Yeah.
The diving into the existential dread was exactly what I wanted. So thank you very much.
What a strange thing to say.
Why? Why is it strange, Dick?
Who wants dread?
Me.
Oh, that explains a lot.
You make it fun though.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For magnificent beardery, let's cast the Chinicus folliculale spell on Gary Laird. For rich ginger tones on the scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne. And for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?